Hi everyone, this is Helloangel.design. Today I'm going to show you how to make a very cute baby romper. As you can see right here, I placed a pocket on the pinafore, and I also use a bias binding to bind the pocket. This is a fire yellow bias binding, and I also place a zigzag lace around the pocket. This is the back of the pinafore. This is how it is once you have done making your pinafore. And I also make another kind right here. This is a different fabric, and this is a stretchy fabric. I use the same pattern paper to make the pinafore. So you can see that the difference between the overall pinafore right here is the leg hole. So the leg hole of the stretchy fabric is different, while the leg hole of the cotton seersucker fabric that I have here is different. So if you have a stretchy fabric, you can always cut a piece of fabric, join it at the side right here, and place it on the leg hole and top stitch all over again. But if you're using a cotton fabric, you don't have to join it like the stretchy fabric. You just fold it and fold it again and give it a top stitch, because the stretchy fabric is always stretched, while the cotton fabric is not stretch, it's a cotton. So this is the difference between the stretchy fabric and the cotton fabric. And this is my pattern paper that I use to make the overall pinafore baby romper. So it's just how you can make use of your pattern paper. It doesn't mean that you have one pattern paper like this, you just have to make it the same. You can always change your pattern paper, depends on how you can do it. So for today, I'm going to show you how to make this overall pinafore baby romper. If you have not subscribed, don't forget to click that red button that says subscribe, and after that click the notification bell so that anytime I upload new video, you will be the first to be notified. If you have any question, put it on the comment section. If you have anything to add to my tutorial, please go ahead and put it on the comment section. If you're just stopping by, thank you so much for watching. Before you exit the video, don't forget to subscribe. And let's get started. I have cut my fabric ready, and I'm using a different fabric to make this pinafore baby romper. And this is my zigzag lace. I'm using a different zigzag lace this time. You don't have to use zigzag lace to design your pocket. You can always use bias binding to design your pocket. This is optional. This is my label right here in my pocket. And my facing, one for the front, one for the back. And my bias binding and my made fabric, I'm using lightweight denim fabric. So when you cut your pocket, make sure you cut 2 pieces right here. As you can see, I cut 2 pieces. First thing that you have to do, you put your 2 pockets together like this. This is the inside of the fabric. Put them together. Fold it into 2. So what you're going to do, you're going to measure from the fold hand, measure 1 centimeter. Take your ruler, draw a diagonal. Place your ruler like this and just draw a diagonal, just like that. Take your pin. You just pin that in place, take it to your sewing machine, give it a slant stitch. I have stitched my pocket. This is how it is right now. And this will be the inside of the pocket, why this will be the front of the pocket. The next thing that you have to do, you take your bias binding. This is my bias binding. And this will be the inside of the pocket. Place your bias binding like this from the top edge of the pocket. Make sure both edges are matched. I will just put 2 few pins to show how to stitch your pocket in place. So when you're going to stitch your bias binding, You can see the crease in between the bias binding. Make sure your needle is in between that crease and just go ahead and stitch it all the way around. Once you have done that, then turn your bias binding like this and then turn it over and give it a top stitch all around. So go ahead and stitch your bias binding around the edges of your pocket. I have stitched my pocket all around. This is how it is. The next thing is for you to use your cotton or the bias binding to bind the top edge of the pocket. So this is my bias binding. I just pin it in place, pin it at the back. Make sure to fold the raw edges like this. You fold it over, take it to your sewing machine, give it a top stitch all the way down. Once you have done that, turn it all over like this and give it a top stitch all the way down, just the same way you stitch like this before. Go ahead and do the same thing on the top edge of your pocket. I have stitched my pocket all around, and you can see that I have also used the bias binding to bind the top edge of the pocket. The next thing that you have to do, you take your zigzag lace. Like I said before, this is optional. You don't have to place a zigzag lace, but if you want to place a zigzag lace, then the raw edges of your zigzag lace, fold it inside like this. Take your pocket. You're going to place the zigzag lace on top of your pocket, the top edge of your pocket. Place it like this. Take it to your sewing machine and just give it a top stitch all the way down. You come to the end, you also fold it inside. You do the same thing, just the way you fold the raw edges inside right here. You also come to this other side, fold the raw edges inside and top stitch all the way down. I have stitched my zigzag lace on the top edge of my pocket. This is how it is. You can see that I have already pinned the pocket on my dress. So if you want to know the measurement, from the very top edge, from the top of the neckline, I measure 8 centimeters. From the side, I measure 8.5 centimeters. From this other side is also 8.5 centimeters. Then place your pocket, pin it all around. So as you can see, I've already done that. The next thing, take your zigzag lace. If you don't want to attach any design on your pocket, just go ahead and give it a top stitch all around. But if you want to attach a zigzag lace or any lace that you have, fold the raw edges of the zigzag lace inside. Place it like this. Just place it like that. Place it inside, just like that. Make sure a little bit of the zigzag lace is showing. Just go ahead and place it. When you're stitching, you can. When you're stitching all over, you can place it gradually by hand. You don't have to pin that in place. Place it like that and just go ahead and give it a top stitch all around. When you come to this end, fold the raw edges inside and top stitch. Make sure to back stitch at the beginning and back stitch at the end. So go ahead and stitch your pocket in place. I have stitched my pocket in place. This is how it finally looks. The next thing that you have to do, you take your back dress, place it on top of it like this. Make sure both fronts of the dress are facing each other. Just go ahead and pin the both side seam of the dress together. Once you have done pinning, take it to your sewing machine. Stitch the both side seam of the dress together. If you have overlocker, overlock the both raw edges or use zigzag to overlock the both raw edges. Then you take your facing. So when you cut your fabric, make sure to also cut the facing. Put the both facing together. Pin the both side seam. Once you have done pinning the both side seam of the facing together, take it to your sewing machine. Also give it a top stitch all the way down. If you have overlocker, overlock the raw edges or use zigzag to overlock the raw edges. When you put your facing together, make sure both fronts are facing each other. So go ahead and top stitch the side seam of your facing and also top stitch the side seam of your pinafore dress. So go ahead. I have stitched the both side seam of my pinafore dress together. I just turn it inside out and give it a nice press. And I also do the same thing with the facing. This is the inside of the dress, while this is the front of the facing. So what you're going to do, you're going to put the front dress inside the facing. So you open your facing like this. This is the front, while this is the back. You pick your front dress, put it inside like this. So what you're going to do, you're going to pin the both armhole, shoulder seam and neckline together. Go ahead and pin it all around. I have pinned around the both armhole, neckline and the shoulder seam of the pinafore. The next thing that you have to do, take it to your sewing machine, stitch around the both armhole, neckline and shoulder seam. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. Once you have done top stitching, then fold your facing, fold the raw edges inside and then fold it again and give it a top stitch all around. But if you overlock the raw edges, just fold inside 1/2 inch, top stitch all around. So go ahead and stitch the both armhole and the neckline of your pinafore and also hem your facing. I have stitched around the both armhole and neckline, also with the shoulder seam. I just turn it inside out and give it a nice press. You can see that I also hem my facing. This is how it finally look right now. The next thing that you have to do is to stitch your crouch together. Put your both pinafore crouch together, pin them all around. Once you have done pinning, take it to your sewing machine, give it a top stitch all around. My seam allowance is 1 centimeter. If you have overlocker, overlock the raw edges, or use zigzag to overlock the raw edges. Once you have done with that, you come to your facing. You can see your facing right here. What you're going to do, you pick your seam allowance and you pick your facing, put them together like this. I will pin this in place. So when you're going to stitch your facing, you are using hand stitch. Turn it over like this. Use hand stitch to stitch it in place, and you also come to this side, you do the same thing so that you hold the facing in place. Or you can also put the facing like this. Make sure both seam are matched. Just take it to your sewing machine, give it a top stitch in between the seam. Make sure your needle is in between the seam. Just give it a top stitch all the way down. So if you don't want to use hand stitch to stitch it in place, you can also stitch in between the seam right here and just give it a top stitch all the way down. You come to this other side, put them together, make sure both seam are matched, and stitch in between right here. Just give it a top stitch all the way down right here. So go ahead and stitch your crouch and stitch your facing in place. I have top stitched it all together. This is how it finally look, and I just overlock the raw edges, and I also do the same thing on the both leg hole right here. The next thing that you have to do, fold inside 1/2 inch, take it to your sewing machine, give it a top stitch all around, and you do the same thing on the side. If you don't have overlocker, just fold it and then fold it again and give it a top stitch all around. You do the same thing on this side. So go ahead and top stitch. Once you have done that, turn your dress inside out. Then you can insert your snap or your buttonhole. So first thing, go and top stitch. I have finished stitching the leg hole. This is the final look of the Pinafore dress, and I just installed my snap. If you don't have snap, you can also stitch your button and your buttonhole. And I top stitch the both armhole and the neckline. This is the final look of the Pinafore. If you like this tutorial, don't forget to thumbs up. Make a comment below if you have any question. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a beautiful day. Bye.